There are nights when you lie next to the person you married and feel more alone than you ever felt by yourself. Your body is close, but your heart feels miles away, and you wonder, when did this change happen? When did touch become rare? When did affection turn into silence? And the most painful question of all, what is wrong with me? If this feels familiar, this message is for you. No one warns women that marriage can slowly steal closeness without any dramatic fight. No betrayal, no clear reason, just a quiet distance that grows while you keep showing up, giving understanding, and waiting, hoping that one day things will feel the same. Again, you start questioning your beauty, your value, your femininity, and you carry that pain quietly because you do not want to sound needy or ungrateful. But what if the absence of touch is not rejection? What if it is not about you not being enough? What if it is a signal, not of love ending, but of safety disappearing? What if the very thing you're blaming yourself for is actually calling you to rise into a deeper understanding of connection, strength, and self-worth? Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will challenge everything you believe about intimacy, marriage, and your power as a woman. And by the end of this message, you will not feel ashamed, broken, or desperate. You will feel clear, grounded, and empowered with a new way to rebuild closeness without begging, chasing, or losing yourself. Physical closeness fades when emotional safety is lost, not when love is gone, and this truth changes everything, because most people blame themselves, their appearance, their age, or their worth when touch disappears in marriage. But the real reason runs much deeper than the surface. When a person no longer feels emotionally safe, their body responds by pulling back without discussion, without explanation, and often without intention. Emotional safety means feeling accepted without constant criticism, feeling heard without being dismissed, feeling valued without having to beg. And when these basic emotional needs are repeatedly unmet, the nervous system goes into protection mode, the heart closes, and the body follows. Love can still exist deeply while physical closeness disappears, because love is a feeling, but intimacy is an experience created daily. When emotional safety is broken by harsh words, neglect, disrespect, comparison, or emotional absence, the body no longer associates closeness with comfort. It begins to associate it with pressure, tension, or pain, and no human being naturally moves toward what feels unsafe, even inside marriage. People do not stop touching because they want distance. They stop because closeness has stopped feeling like home. Many couples unknowingly destroy emotional safety through small, repeated actions. Sarcasm instead of softness, silence instead of communication, criticism instead of curiosity, and over time these moments pile up, creating invisible walls. No argument is needed, no dramatic betrayal is required, just consistent emotional disconnection. And the tragedy is that both partners often suffer in silence. One feeling rejected, the other feeling overwhelmed, misunderstood, or emotionally drained, neither knowing how to fix it. When emotional safety is present, touch feels natural, comforting, and grounding. When it is absent, even simple gestures feel heavy, forced, or invasive. And this is why forcing physical closeness never works. Guilt does not create desire, obligation does not restore intimacy, and anger only deepens withdrawal. The body listens to emotional truth, not verbal demands, and until emotional safety is rebuilt, physical closeness will continue to fade, regardless of how much love remains. Emotional safety is rebuilt when one partner chooses awareness over blame, responsibility over reaction, and empathy over ego. It begins with listening without defending, acknowledging feelings without correcting, and creating space where emotions can exist without punishment. It is rebuilt when appreciation returns, when effort is noticed, and when a partner feels seen as a human being, not just a role or responsibility. It is rebuilt when communication feels safe enough that vulnerability does not feel dangerous. This is especially important for those who feel rejected and internalize the distance as personal failure. Understand this clearly: your worth is not measured by someone else's ability to be emotionally present. Often the withdrawal you experience is a reflection of emotional exhaustion, unresolved, hurt, or unspoken fear, not a lack of love. And when you stop chasing validation and start creating emotional stability within yourself, the dynamic begins to shift. Strength, grounded energy, and emotional maturity create safety far more powerfully than desperation ever could. When emotional safety returns, the body softens, walls come down, and closeness slowly finds its way back, not because it was forced, but because it finally feels safe again. And this is the hidden truth behind disappearing intimacy. It was never about love leaving, it was about safety breaking, and safety can always be rebuilt when understanding replaces assumption and compassion replaces control. Avoidance of touch is often a silent cry for understanding, not rejection. And this perspective can transform the pain many people carry in marriage, because when physical closeness disappears, the mind immediately jumps to the most damaging conclusion that you are unwanted, unloved, or no longer desired, and that belief quietly destroys confidence, self-worth, and emotional stability. But the truth in many cases is far more complex and far less personal. Touch is avoided not to hurt you, but because the person avoiding it is struggling internally in ways they may not know how to express. Many people do not have the language to explain emotional overwhelm, emotional neglect, unresolved resentment, or deep exhaustion. So the body speaks instead. It pulls away. It creates distance. It avoids closeness because closeness requires emotional availability, and when someone feels emotionally flooded, misunderstood, or constantly pressured, their system seeks relief through space. This withdrawal is not a calculated rejection. It is a coping mechanism, a way to survive emotions that feel too heavy to carry while still showing up for daily responsibilities. When a partner avoids touch, they are often saying without words, "I do not feel seen. I do not feel safe to open up. I am tired of explaining myself. I am overwhelmed by expectations, or I am carrying hurt that has never been acknowledged." And because these feelings stay unspoken, the other partner fills the silence with assumptions, self-blame, and fear, creating a painful cycle where one withdraws to protect themselves and the other reaches out from a place of insecurity, which only increases the pressure and deepens the distance. This is why demanding affection never works, because it addresses the symptom, not the cause. You cannot fix emotional hunger with physical pressure, and you cannot heal internal wounds with external insistence. The more touch is demanded, the more the withdrawing partner feels misunderstood, controlled, or evaluated, and the body reacts by closing even further. What looks like rejection on the surface is often a plea for emotional understanding beneath it. Understanding this requires emotional maturity, because it asks you to pause your pain long enough to see your partner struggle. It does not mean ignoring your needs or tolerating neglect. It means shifting the approach from "why are you rejecting me" to "what are you experiencing that makes closeness difficult right now?" That shift alone can change the emotional temperature of a marriage, because it replaces accusation with curiosity and pressure with compassion. Many marriages reach a breaking point not because love is gone, but because both partners are silently asking to be understood while feeling too unsafe to speak openly. When one partner finally feels emotionally heard without being corrected, minimized, or blamed, the body responds naturally. Warmth returns, tension eases, and touch begins to feel safe again. Emotional validation opens doors that physical insistence only slams shut for the person feeling avoided. This is the hardest truth to accept, that the distance is not proof of your inadequacy, but evidence of emotional pain within the relationship. And sometimes within your partner, when you stop interpreting withdrawal as rejection and start responding with grounded, calm presence, you create space for honesty to emerge and safety to return. And in that space, intimacy has the chance to grow again, not as an obligation, but as a natural expression of restored connection. Unspoken resentment and routine slowly replace desire. And this happens so quietly that most couples do not realize what is happening until intimacy feels distant, and forced resentment rarely arrives as anger. It begins as disappointment that was never expressed, needs that were never acknowledged, alleged efforts that went unnoticed, and sacrifices that were expected rather than appreciated. And each time something meaningful is swallowed instead of spoken, a small emotional weight is added to the relationship. And over time, those weights become heavy enough to crush desire. Routine by itself is not the enemy. Stability is necessary for marriage, but routine without emotional renewal turns partners into co-workers, managing a household rather than lovers, choosing each other. Desire thrives on feeling chosen, valued, and seen, not just needed. And when daily life becomes a cycle of responsibilities, roles, and expectations, romance quietly disappears. Not because anyone stopped caring, but because no one is intentionally feeding the emotional connection that desire depends on. Resentment grows when one partner feels they are giving more emotionally, mentally, or physically without recognition. When effort becomes obligation and love becomes duty, the heart begins to close. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. Desire cannot coexist with emotional imbalance, because attraction requires freedom, not pressure, and appreciation, not expectation. And when resentment builds, the body remembers every unspoken hurt, even if the mind tries to ignore it. People often believe desire should be automatic, especially in marriage, but desire is a response to emotional experience, not a permanent state. When appreciation fades, curiosity dies. When curiosity dies, intimacy fades, and routine takes over. Conversations become transactional. Touch becomes functional, and presence becomes rare. And without realizing it, partners stop seeing each other. They see roles instead. Spouse, parent, provider, caretaker, and desire cannot survive where individuality is no longer acknowledged. Unspoken resentment also creates emotional distance because vulnerability feels risky when hurt has not been resolved. The body does not want to open to someone who has been a source of pain, even unintentionally. And this is why many people feel emotionally shut down in marriage. They are not cold. They are protecting themselves from repeated disappointment. And the tragedy is that both partners often feel unappreciated, both feel unheard, and both believe they are the only one trying. The path back begins not with dramatic gestures, but with honest emotional cleanup, naming what was never spoken, acknowledging what was taken for granted, and validating the feelings that were minimized. This requires courage because it means facing discomfort instead of avoiding it. But without this process, desire will continue to fade no matter how much love remains, because unresolved emotional residue poisons intimacy. When resentment is released and routine is interrupted with presence, intention, and appreciation, something powerful happens. Partners begin to see each other again, not as obligations, but as human beings with needs, fears, and desires. And when that happens, desire does not need to be forced. It reawakens naturally because it was never dead. It was buried under silence and sameness. And when honesty replaces suppression and intention replaces autopilot, intimacy has space to breathe again. Reconnection begins with responsibility, not blame, and this truth challenges the instinct most people have when intimacy fades, because the natural reaction is to point fingers, to list what the other person stopped doing, how they changed, how they failed to meet expectations. And while blame may feel justified, it quietly kills the very connection it is trying to restore, because blame creates defense, and defense blocks intimacy. When physical closeness disappears, both partners are usually hurting, but pain expressed as accusation only deepens the distance. Responsibility does not mean accepting all the fault or excusing neglect. It means recognizing that you have power over your own behavior, energy, and emotional presence, regardless of what your partner does. And the moment one person takes ownership of the emotional tone they bring into the relationship, the dynamic begins to shift. Taking responsibility looks like asking yourself hard questions. How have I shown up lately? Have I been more critical than curious? More reactive than calm, more distant than engaged? Because intimacy responds to emotional leadership, not emotional pressure. And when you choose to lead with awareness instead of resentment, you create a safer space for connection to return. Responsibility is not about self-blame. It is about self-mastery. Blame focuses on the past responsibility. Focuses on the present. Blame demands, change, responsibility invites it. And this difference matters because people change when they feel safe, not when they feel attacked. When one partner drops the need to be right and chooses to be connected, walls soften, conversations open, and the nervous system relaxes. Intimacy requires safety, and safety begins when someone feels they are not constantly under evaluation. Many marriages stay stuck because both partners are waiting for the other to go first, waiting for an apology, waiting for effort, waiting for change. But intimacy does not return through waiting. It returns through action aligned with values, presence, kindness, and emotional consistency. And the strongest move you can make is to embody the energy you want to experience, because relationships mirror emotional states more than words. Responsibility also means communicating needs clearly instead of expecting mind reading, expressing feelings without accusation, and listening without preparing a defense. It means repairing after conflict instead of letting silence stretch into emotional distance. And it means choosing long-term connection over short-term ego, because ego wants validation, but intimacy requires vulnerability. For those who feel exhausted by always trying to understand, this responsibility is not about carrying the relationship alone. It is about initiating a healthier pattern that invites mutual effort. When one person consistently models respect, emotional regulation, and opens, it becomes easier for the other to step forward, not because they are forced, but because the environment feels different. Reconnection does not happen through control, guilt, or pressure. It happens through emotional maturity and intentional presence. When you stop asking who is wrong and start asking, how can I contribute to safety and understanding right now? You move from victimhood into power, and from frustration into influence, because responsibility is not weakness. It is the foundation of lasting intimacy, and it is where real reconnection always begins. Intimacy can be rebuilt when presence replaces pressure, and this is one of the most misunderstood truths in marriage, because when closeness disappears, fear takes over, and fear pushes people to chase, demand, question, and insist believing that more effort, more talking, or more reminders will bring intimacy back. But pressure does the opposite. It activates resistance, shuts down vulnerability, and turns closeness into an obligation rather than a desire. Presence means being emotionally available without an agenda. It means listening without trying to fix touching, without expecting something in return, and showing up with calm, grounded energy instead of anxious neediness. The human nervous system responds to safety, not force. And when a partner feels that every moment of closeness carries an expectation, they begin to guard themselves, not because they do not care, but because they feel evaluated rather than accepted. Pressure sounds like why. Don't you touch me anymore? You never want me? You have changed presence. Sounds like I enjoy being close to you without needing anything right now. And that difference is felt instantly. Presence lowers defenses. It communicates choice rather than demand and creates an emotional space where intimacy can grow naturally instead of being negotiated. Many people believe that pulling back their needs will erase them, but presence is not silence or suppression. It is strength without urgency. It is clarity without accusation. It is expressing feelings honestly while releasing the need for immediate validation. When you can say, I miss feeling close to you, and still remain emotionally steady, regardless of the response, you create safety because you show that connection is desired but not weaponized. Presence also means consistency, not dramatic gestures or emotional swings, but reliable warmth, kindness, and attention over time. Intimacy returns through repeated moments of emotional safety. A gentle touch without expectation. A conversation without tension, shared laughter without underlying pressure. These moments retrain the body to associate closeness with comfort again. For the partner who feels starved for affection, this is the hardest discipline because it asks you to regulate your own emotions instead of outsourcing your worth to someone else. When you stop using intimacy as proof of value and start valuing yourself independently, you become more attractive, not because you changed your partner, but because you changed the energy you bring into the relationship. Grounded confidence invites closeness, anxiety repels it. Rebuilding intimacy through presence also requires patience because safety is not restored instantly, especially if there has been long-term pressure, resentment, or emotional distance. But every moment of non-demanding connection deposits trust back into the relationship. And over time, those deposits add up to renewed openness and desire. Intimacy was never meant to be forced, negotiated, or demanded. It is a natural response to feeling safe, chosen, and emotionally seen. When presence replaces pressure, you stop chasing closeness and start creating the conditions where closeness wants to return. And in that space, touch no longer feels like a test or a transaction. It feels like home again. Physical closeness does not disappear to punish you, and it does not return through force. It responds to understanding. Safety and emotional strength. When you stop fighting the absence of intimacy and start transforming the emotional space between you, everything begins to change. This is not about fixing your partner. It is about rising into awareness, responsibility, and presence. Because the moment you lead with calm confidence instead of fear, the relationship feels different. And when the relationship feels different, closeness has room to breathe again. Remember, this intimacy is not lost. It is waiting. It is waiting for safety to return, for resentment to be released, for pressure to be replaced with presence. You are not powerless in this moment. You have the ability to shift the energy, the tone, and the direction of your marriage by choosing empathy over ego, connection over control, and growth over blame. And when you do that, you do not just rebuild intimacy, you rebuild trust, desire, and emotional unity, because lasting closeness is not created by chasing touch. It is created by becoming the kind of presence that touch naturally moves toward